Alright, welcome to STuCK Feed the Beast Let's Play. This is going to be a different kind of episode. I started off and I thought it ended up being a bad episode. So, I'm going to retry and show you guys how to do stuff this way. We are starting with bees, so we are in our creative mode bee factory-ish place. I like it. I spent a long time on it. Anyways, so this is all we need for our bee stuff. Actually, there is one thing I'll forget, but I'll get to that later. First of all, you start with bees. You can find these in villages, and you can also scoop them out of hives. And I'll show you the scoop later on, but we need to go very fast. This is the squeezer. You use the squeezer to squeeze seeds at first, so let's go ahead and place that just so you can see what it looks like. It needs to be powered by a any engine that gives off MJ. So I normally use a hobbyist steam engine to start with, but you can use whatever you want. And this is the recipe. You make these sturdy casings by putting bronze like this in a table. And you make bronze by putting 3 copper with, oops, that's iron, with 1 tin, just these 4, and they will make 4 bronze ingots. Like so. Okay. So, just hook up whatever engine you want. When you get this GUI interface, all you need to do is put in seeds. There are certain seeds that will have different levels of seediness, I suppose, but I just prefer to start with melon seeds. They give enough seed oil to just get started. So, yeah. Next up we have the carpenter, and the carpenter is for making advanced forestry machines. Again, you're going to need a sturdy casing as well as some bronze. And this is what its GUI looks like. In order to get started, you need to not only have a recipe, but, and let's put some tin in there, but a liquid. So let's go ahead and put a liquid in there. Water. You can have these feed in automatically with waterproof pipes, but I don't usually set up something like that. So let's just leave that there. Next is our apiary. Well, once you get seed oil from this, you can put a tin can there or any kind of container that will hold liquid, and it will give you seed containers. Instead of putting water here, you can put seed containers, and you put oak wood in this recipe, and it will give you your apiary. Again, you can't have water in here. It has to be seed oil. So use a syringe to get that out, or just make sure you use seed oil instead of water. I put water in there for a certain reason, but oh, get out of my way. This is what the apiary is. You'll recognize these if you saw my episode 0. It's where you put the bees. It's the bulk of the bees. So let's go ahead and grab our bees from over here. And put our wintry princesses in here. Now, with this interface, you put a princess and a drone together, and they make a queen. And the queen will start working right away, if the conditions are favorable. Now, this bee is probably going to throw a fit. And let me tell you why. Although it is icy and normal, which wintry bees love, they are one of the only bees that can tolerate these kinds of settings. They need flowers to work, and I think they are detecting flowers through the floor. Let's see, oh, nope, they're not working anymore. So let's go ahead and put some dirt. And some flowers. And are you going to work now? Do you see it? Oh, it needs to be daytime. Bees are also limited by the time of day. So let's go over here and get our rocky drones. These are naturally nocturnal. I am not sure if they can tolerate icy, but we'll see what happens. And different bees have different flowers. Yeah, they really hate the cold. Wintry bees are the only ones who can tolerate the cold. But in any case, that's why we're in creative mode to explain this. Different bees have different flowers. Wintry just has regular flowers, and rocky queens need to detect stone around them. Anyway, so what do these bees do? Well, they end up giving you honeycombs, and different kinds of bees give you different honeycombs. And this is why you want to have bees. You get honeycombs that give you diamonds, that give you redstone, which is what we're after, by the way. But you need a special machine to make these. And luckily you can just do this in a crafting table. This takes sturdy casing with copper ingots and glass again. And this is what the centrifuge looks like. You just place your combs here, power this with your power source of choice, and it will give you honey drops and beeswax and all kinds of bee products. These honeycombs are just basic products. Alright, moving on. The Beealyzer. Since we're going to be moving on to breeding right away, we want this. We want to know how to make this. This will allow you to see the different genetics of the bees, which we'll get into in just a few minutes. But you need to put this in a carpenter with water. So if we go over here to our carpenter, you'll notice that I kind of have it set up already. Oops. And you do need to click one at a time. And it does take a diamond, but well worth your first diamond. And if it's powered, it will slowly make it, and it will pop up over here. And it does take water. Apiaries take seed oil. These take water. Alright. So once that's done, you get your Beealyzer. This is very complicated, but is easier than it looks. Let's just use our Rocky Queen as an example. You put your bee in this slot and put one honey drop to make the bee happy. And then you can see all of its stats. This is your main screen that you're going to want to look at most often, but I also keep these in mind because these stats right here, diurnal, nocturnal, flyer, and cave, make the bee a better worker. Climate, temperature tolerance, and humidity tolerance affect where a bee can live. So if I look at this bee, it can live in normal, warm, or cool areas, but not icy, because it has an up and down 1 for temperature tolerance. I was pointing at humidity. For humidity, it can live in anything, because there's only 3 types of humidity, and there are 5 temperature types. So there's a special way to get these bees to live in other areas. You can either breed it onto bees, or you can use fancy machines. Anyways, moving on to the rest of the Beealyzer. Once you've read a bee, you can read it forever. The species is probably what you'll be looking at the most. It has rocky and rocky, but it can have more than one, and that's very important. Next, it will tell you the possible specialty, possible mutations, and classification, which is just, some nice trivia that the mod creators put in there. So this is a very useful breeding thing. Oops, I did not place these down. This is an apiary's chest. It is excellent for storing your bees. It can store stacks upon stacks. I don't know the exact amount. The one everyone quotes is way too high, but this is just a useful thing to have. But I prefer bringing this around. This is the apiary's backpack, and when you have bees, instead of having them clog up your inventory, because princesses don't stack. These drones stack because they're all the same, but when you're breeding, you'll get drones of different types, and it's just horrible, and they clog your inventory. With this apiarist backpack on, or when you're exploring, you can just throw them on the ground and pick them up. They're not in your inventory, so where are they? Right here in your apiarist backpack. So this is what you need, basic machines to get started. Again, most of these are powered by MJ engines, and the easiest one to build to start with is just a basic steam engine. Now I'll get started with something a little different, and you'll notice I'm using red alloy wire. I'll get more into that in a second. Something made me very happy, and we can use some neat redstone tricks again. Alright, I accidentally did one extra. Okay, genetics. So let's take this bee out. Oh, it made a frozen comb, which makes some neat stuff when you put it into your centrifuge here. Like other combs, you can just put it in there. I don't have it powered, but you know, whatever. You can find out what they make on your own, or use NEI over here. So let's get ourselves two different kinds of bees here. A princess and a drone. Let's go Rocky. And let's stick these in here, along with some chocolate frames. Now I'll show you how to make these frames in just a bit. They don't stack, unfortunately. These particular frames make the bees go fast. So we can see the outcome of this right away, as soon as it ticks down. Let's pick a different frame. Necrotic frame, 1, 2, 3. This should kill the bee. Sorry for being morbid. This is how it has to be. Alright, let's go. Let's go, bee. Let's go. Okay, so that was pretty interesting. That went much faster. Go ahead and use those. And this. As you can see, all of these bees are different. They're not gonna stack. Get out of here. So, let's check out what they look like over here. They're part wintry and part rocky. This one can tolerate icy, but it has an inactive gene that doesn't allow it to tolerate anything, so we'll have to go to a normal biome, or just an icy biome. It wouldn't be able to breed elsewhere. But it's also normal with plus and minus 1. Now, what's important about this is that the princess needs to be able to work. It doesn't matter if the drone can work, but if the princess can't work, then we have problems. So we need to take this bee to a normal, or not a normal biome, but a warmer environment. As you can see, we're super snowy here in Snowland. I made a poor decision. But if I went over to that island over there with no snow, the bee would be perfectly happy. So that's decent, I guess. Let's look at the other ones. And this is a different one. As you can see, it has an effect freezing, but also none. So let's look at the others real fast. Freezing, none. Freezing, none. Freezing. It's not doing too hot right now. None of these are very good. So let's go ahead and stick them in just again. Actually, you know, I'd have to breed it over there. So let's put that there. Put this here. Set the Rocky Queen to work and give them a flower, or they'll be sad. Now, something nice about bees is that they are nocturnal, so we don't have to make it daytime in order for them to work. So let's just leave them to it. Actually, what am I doing? Let's put some necrotic frames in there. We don't have to wait on them. Alright, so what do we have here? We only have 2 bees. Last time we got 5. And I'll show you why that is in just a second. As well as show you what these genes are. So let's get it back over here. And why did I make this? You'll find out. You'll find out very soon. Okay. Let's grab this over here and look at these bees. As you can see, this is a pure rocky. But look, it has a ×4 fertility. Normally it has a ×1. And look, it has freezing for its effects. So as you can see, oh no, give that back. As you can see, it gets different genes depending on how you breed it. Now, you want to breed certain genes in order to make a good bee. Like this freezing, bad. Bad, bad, bad. But this ×4, great. ×4 is the highest fertility you can have, and it's really good for breeding things. Diurnal, good. Cave, good. But there's no nocturnal and no flyer. That's terrible. That means it can't work at night. Let's check this bee. It's ×4. It's part wintry. Now, I'm not breeding for any kind of mutations right now, but mutations can happen, and that's how you get new bee species. And this is part nocturnal. However, no part of these 2 bees has flyer anymore. So what I would do in this case is I'd go over here, use one of these first generation bees to try to get flyer back on it. Ba-ba. And where does it like to live? Let's see. Oh, it needs to go back to the ocean. Well, we're not going to do that because, you know, you get the point. So this is how you predict it. If you took biology class in middle school or paid attention, you should know this. Maybe it's different in different states, but you know. So let's say this purple glass is a rocky bee. And it is purebred rocky. So at the top of this place, it would have rocky and rocky. This is a purebred wintry, so it's wintry and wintry. So let's go here. So there's our purebred rocky. Now this is our princess. Let's put it with our queen, which is a purebred wintry, which is this pink stuff. The outcome would be part rocky and part wintry. Bop, bop, bop. So we take this purple here and this pink here, and there's our outcome. So let's do that for everything. Now, the order it's in is completely random, so let's go ahead and fix something. Do. Oh, not there. As you can see, there's a 50-50 chance of both genes, and every gene will show up. So, what happens when we go half-breed? So, a rocky wintry drone with a rocky princess. This has purple and purple. So it is 100% rocky. This is also purple. This is pink, purple. And this is pink, purple. So as you can see, it's still a 50-50 chance, but there are no purebreds. Yeah, that's how it works. And there's also a lower chance that you get to see it. Like, you see it 25% of the time, but other times it's the second gene. Alright. So let's do something different. Let's talk about recessive genes and what that means. Let's say we have a pink. Just pink. Let's pretend this pink is recessive. This will happen with some of your traits. And you can tell because it's red or blue. If I remember right, blue is the recessive one. You'll know it if you see it having it, and it's always the second one. It will never show up in the active. So, as long as there's a dominant gene, you will only see the dominant part. So here's dominant, and then we get this, but there's a dominant. So this is what the princess would be if this ends up being a princess. You know, there's always a 50-50. No, just ignore that. Just ignore what I said. Okay. So it would only be this dominant gene. This would only be dominant. This would only be dominant. This would only be dominant. All of them would be dominant. But what happens when we take these and make some of them recessive? So although this is definitely dominant and dominant, they have these recessive genes, and these genes end up being invisible. You don't see them. So here is our purebred with 2 dominant traits. Here is a gene just like its parents. It has a dominant trait and an invisible recessive, but here is a pure recessive, and this is where you will see our trait. Now this same thing applies to our breeding. Let's go ahead and look at our bee here. I can't tell which one is recessive or not. Oh well. Let's look at these ones. As you can see, I guess Rocky would have to be dominant here, which is why we got no wintry bees. So blue is the recessive gene, and ×4 is the recessive gene, and freezing is the recessive gene. But when we get 2 recessive genes, which is in here, which would be freezing, as you can see, it is active now, and it will only be able to pass on the freezing gene, which would be pink in that setting over there. Alright, so now that we have this started, let's get started talking about mutations, which is the fun part of bees. I will see you in survival mode. Alright, welcome to the second part of episode 3. I am trying to get all of the bees done as quickly as possible so we can move on to other funner parts of the LP. I mean, this is really fun for me, but maybe not for everyone, so people who don't like bees can easily skip this. Point is, this is how you're going to get your base bees, and you need to have all of these bees before you move on to automation, or you really should have all of these bees before you move on to automation. Anyways, you start off with forest and meadows. If you don't live in a normal biome where it has normal, I recommend moving just for your bees and combining forest and meadows to get yourself a common. Now this common also loves normal. All of these bees love normal, honestly. So yeah. Once you have your common, you combine it with any base bee to get a cultivated. And just for the record, forest plus meadows, that's just base plus base. So you can also combine marshy plus wintry, sorceress plus modest, and you'll get common as well. Well, I don't know that for sure about the magic bees. We'll get into that more later. I do intend to cover the magic bees. Anyways, common plus a base bee gets you cultivated. And cultivated is the start of most lines. You're going to want this badly. It's also the fastest worker. I haven't checked its genes, but just be aware it's the fastest worker, and you really want cultivateds. Next up, to get the noble, you read common plus cultivated. Again, you really want to have a beealizer so you can see the secondary traits of all of these bees, because it can be recessive, and you may not know you have one, and then you lose the gene, and it just takes forever. It just speeds things up if you use the beealizer. Anyways, noble, princesses and drones. Once you have noble, combine noble with cultivated, and you will get majestic. These bees have a ×4 fertility rate, So they will drop 4 drones every time they turn over, which is actually very, very nice. The only other bee that has that, as far as I know, are wintries. Anyways, so once you have your majestics, you combine majestic plus noble to get imperial. You might be noticing a trend with most of these branches. You combine the bee before it plus the new mutation in order to get the next mutation. And the same is true of this one. You combine common and cultivated to get diligent, and yes, you can get either noble or diligent. There is a chance for both. Then once you have this, you combine diligent plus cultivated to get unweary, and unweary look like this, nice and green. You combine unweary plus diligent to get industrious. And these are very fast pollinators. One of the fastest. Rural is apparently also very good, but a little more difficult to get, depending on what stage you are at in the bee lines. But yeah, so if you're doing tree breeding, you really want this line. You should really focus on this line instead of this line. If you're going into bees, you want both of them. But you'll probably want to start with the imperial line because it gives you more honey and honeydew. So you might realize, wait a second, there's only 2 important basic lines. Why is there stuff over here? Well, this is actually unique bees. I want you to know that you have special bees and not throw them away. And, well, pretend that made grammatical sense. Anyways, steadfast bees, oh, I don't have purebreds, but pretend I do. They're very rare. You find them only in, you find them only in dungeons, and you'll find them either 2 drones, 10 drones. You'll never find princesses, so you have to try to breed it up into a purebred. And I started off with 2 steadfast drones, so it's not going so hot for me. But this is what they look like. They are holographic, just like the imperial drones and the industrial drones. Next up is Valiant. You have about a 10% chance from any hive to drop a Valiant instead of a regular basic bee. So they're kind of common. They're more common than these steadfast bees. So that's nice. There is a special breed of bee that you can get by combining steadfast plus valiant in a forest, like the one we are in. But I didn't go ahead and get it because that's not a basic bee. Next up is marbled. This is special. You may or may not have these. If you're in 1.4.7, oh, he's super excited. He got the tree he wanted. If you're in 1.4.7, you have no idea what I'm talking about. If you're in 1.5.2, you might know what I'm talking about. Sometimes you'll see a white hive in the middle of nowhere. Let's pretend this is a hive. You break it with your scoop. Pretend I'm using a scoop, and nothing pops out. Why is that? It's because marbles are being removed. I happen to have some because I got some before they were removed. I don't know if they still mutate. I'll go ahead and see that in later episodes if I cover it at all. I kind of doubt they mutate. But if you're in an old world with their hives still in the world, or with a world that still generates the hives, they're going to be empty. So if you have marbles, hold on to them. They are unique. They're not coming back. And yeah, so. And that's it for the bee episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys learned a lot. If you have any questions, ask them in the comments section. And I will see you guys next time. Adios.